This video is brought to you by MathGalaxy.com. Here we'll be reviewing multi-digit multiplication. Multiplication is just a shortcut for repeated addition. For example, if you wanted to add 49 25 times. Say something cost $49 and you wanted to know how much 25 cost. This multiplication can be represented in a rows by column format. For example, here 49 in a row, and the multiple is represented by 25 rows. This is an example of two-digit multiplication, which we'll do the traditional way. So we have 49 in a row, 10, 20, 30, 40, 9, and that row is repeated 25 times. 10 rows, then 5 rows. So starting from the right, 5 rows of 9 each, which are going to be those, gives us 45. So a 5 and the 40 we save as groups of 10. So that accounts for those. Then we have 5 rows of 40 each. And since there are 5 rows and these are 10, so 5, 10, 15, 20 tens. 5 times 4 is 20, and 4 other tens is 24 tens. So we have 4 tens, and then the 20 become 2 hundredths. So that accounts for that. So if you were doing single-digit multiplier, this would be if an item cost $49, this tells you how much 5 items would cost. So now we do our tens multiplication. It's 2 times 9 is 18, but this isn't units, these are tens. So some people put a 0 here, but we prefer to indent for each new multiplier. So this gives us, for example, these are 9 here and these are rows of 10. So these are 9 groups of 10, another 9 groups of 10, so a total of 18 groups of 10. So we put an 8 in the tens column, and 10 of those tens carry over to hundredths. So that accounts for those. And then we do 20 rows times and 40 in a row. So these are tens times tens, and each group of 10 times 10 is 100. So 2 times 4 is 8, and the 100 carries before gives us 9 hundredths. So that accounts for those. And another way of doing it is just this way. And now we do our subtotals. 5, 8, 4 is 12. 2, carry your 1. So 2 and 1. Okay. So this is a lot easier than adding 49 25 times. As you go to larger numbers, the process is still the same. So here we have 658 in a row and 123 rows. So 3 times 8 is 24, 4 singles, and carry 2 tens. That accounts for 3 rows of 8 each. Then 3 times 5 is 15, plus the 2 tens from before is 17 tens. So we get a 7 and 1 10 carried over to 100. So this is our 3 rows of 50 each here. Then we go 3 times 6 is our 18. So we're doing ones times hundredths, so it's 18 hundredths plus the 1 we had, which would be 19 hundredths. So that would be the 3 rows of 600 here, plus we had the 100 carried. Next we would go to the 20 rows. 20 rows of 8 each, so these are tens times ones, so this is 16 tens. So we indent to show that it's 6 tens, and 1 10 carries over to 100. So that would be 20 rows of 8 each are those. Then we do 20 rows of 50 each, which are those, and 2 times 5 is 10, plus 1 is 11, and tens of tens are hundredths, so we go into the hundredths and carry a 1 over 2 are thousands. Then we go 10 rows of 100. 10 rows of 100 are these. So tens times hundreds are thousands. So 2 sixes are 12 thousandths plus 1 gives you 13,000. And then we go to our 100 rows of singles. 100 rows, 8 in a row, that's 800, no carries. 100 rows of 50 each. So hundreds times tens are thousands. So that's 5. And if we just continue moving to the left, it'll be in the right position. It's in the thousands. And then we have 100 rows of hundreds, which are these, which gives us 6, which would be n, would be equivalent to 4 zeros by its position, or tens of thousands. And then we add up all our subtotals. An alternative method is to use expanded notation. So here 43 times 32. First we can do the ones multiplication and represent 43 as 40 plus 3. So 2 times 3 is 6. So that's going to account for 2 rows of 3 each. Then 2 times 40, so we just 2 times 4 is 8, and we add a 0 to it. So in this case, we will keep the zeros. So 2 rows of, and each row there are 4 tens, or a total of 8 tens. And now we just do our subtotal. Okay, so again, this would, if we're just multiplying 2 times 43, we'd be done. If one item costs $43, this tells us what 2 items would cost. And now we go to the tens rows, again with expanded notation. So we do 30 times 3, which is 90, which accounts for 30 rows of 3 each. So that's one group of 10, another group of 10. So these are 3 groups of 10, 6, 9 groups of 10, or 90. Okay. Then we do 30 rows of 40 each, and each 10 times 10 is 100. So we just do 3 times 4 is 12 with 2 zeros. So here, well, all you really need to worry about is single-digit multiplication. So that accounts for those rows. So now we do our subtotals. 0, 9, 2, 1. And we copy our subtotal up here. So this intermediate result would be if one item costs $43, this tells us how much 30 items would cost. And now for our final 6, 9 and 8 is 17, 1 carry, 3, 1. This is how a 3-digit multiplier would look in the alternative method. So 795 in a row and 384 rows. So we use expanded notation, and for the single rows, 4 times 5 is 20, 4 times 9 is 36, and since these are tens, we add a 0 to 360. 4 times 7 is 28, since these are hundredths, we add 2 zeros, do our subtotal. For the 80 rows, then 8 times 5 is 40. Then we have 1 0 because these are in tens. So notice that this takes care of our zeros. 8 times 9 is 72 with 2 zeros. 7 times 8 is 56 with 3 zeros. Do our subtotal. And so on. 3 times 5 is 15, 2 zeros. 3 times 9 is 27 with 3 zeros. 3 times 7 is 21 with 4 zeros. and do all our subtotals. As with all these alternative methods, it takes a little more writing, but you're breaking the big problem into smaller problems. Plus, you only have to worry about single-digit multiplication at each step. Also, with this method, you don't have to worry about carries in the multiplication part. There may be carries in the addition, but that's generally a lot easier. Some places do the alternative method as one long column. For example, the 4's multiplication. 4 times 5 is 20. 4 times 9 is 36. And count the number of zeros according to the spaces to the right of both of the multipliers. Here, 1 0. 4 times 7 is 28 and 2 spaces, so 2 zeros. 8 times 5 is 40 and 1 space to the right of that, so we get 1 0. 8 times 9 is 72, and then there's a space there and a space there to the right of the two multipliers, so they put the 2 zeros. But the problem with that is you end up with such a long column that you're more prone to make mistakes doing the addition part. Once you have the basic concepts down, then you can take shortcuts. For example, here we break the big problem into 3 simpler problems. 4 times, then 80 times, then 300 times. So 4 times 5 is 20, 0, carrier 2. 4 times 9 is 36 and 38. Carrier 3, 4 times 7 is 28. And 3 is 31. Then for the 80 multiplication, we just bring down the 0. Then 5 times 8 is 40, carry the 4. 8 times 9 is 72, plus 4 is 76. 6, carry the 7. 7 eighths are 56, and 7 is 63. And likewise, for the hundredths multiplication, just bring down the zeros, and then just multiply by 3, and then add up all your subtotals. So what we've done is convert the big problem into a series of smaller problems. What if there are zeros in the multiplier? So here we have 365 in a row and 300 rows, no 10 rows, and then 9 single rows. Well, you do your ones multiplication as usual, and a tens multiplication you indent, but it's all zeros. Then you indent for your hundredths multiplication. Some people, if they had a 0 from the tens multiplication, would start their hundredths in the same row. But before you start taking shortcuts, it's better to be systematic. It doesn't take much to write a row of zeros and get your indents right. Also, we don't like using zeros to signify the indents because, say, if this were a 2, this would be a 10, you would have a 0 here, and people often confuse the 0 here with the indent zeros and may leave one out. This is an example of the alternative method with zeros, so all we have are 100 rows. So we just put zeros for the ones and the tens multiplication, and then we do the 500 rows times 718. So again, 5 eighths are 40 with 2 zeros. 5 times 1 is 5 with 3 zeros. 5 times 7 is 35 with 4 zeros. This has been a review of multi-digit multiplication. If you want more practice, you can go to MathGalaxy.com. Thank you for listening.